Hi and welcome to the second instalment of the Sew Essential vlog. Thank you to everybody who tuned into the first instalment. It was great to get likes and views and new subscriptions to our YouTube channel, so thank you for that. I must say it's lovely to think that I'm being listened to, because it's not a feeling I get very often at home with 3 boys in the house. And today I'd like to bring you the second instalment where I'll be looking back at my first year in dressmaking and sewing. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Lucy. I work at Sew Essential and I work with Angela, my mother-in-law, who's co-founder of Sew Essential, and she's been holding my hand and guiding me through my first year of sewing and dressmaking. She's got over 60 years experience, and what she doesn't know isn't worth knowing, to be honest. She's so good, she's got such amazing knowledge, and I'm really lucky to have her there holding my hand while I learn to sew. So I'll take you through each of my makes that I made in that first year, starting with this, which is my red party dress that I made last year. It's this Burda pattern, 7308. And yeah, it was a really challenging make for me, I've got to say. You know, I was a complete beginner, and I did find it quite stressful at times, because I thought, you know, I'm never going to get the hang of this, there's so much to understand and know. But I was very lucky because Angela supervised me throughout the make. And actually, although it was an incredibly challenging project for a beginner sewist, I learnt so much when I was making it. So I think it was actually really good to make something quite challenging as one of my first makes, because it gave me a lot of confidence. So the dress itself has got princess seams, so that was one of the techniques I learnt. There's a really full circle skirt, which I love. It's nice and swishy for dancing at parties and things, not that I do much of that anymore, but yeah, it was good to do a circle skirt and do a narrow hem. I also lined the dress with our anti-static polyester lining, so I learnt some lining techniques. There were loads and loads of techniques that I learnt when making this dress, and I think it was a really good experience from that point of view. So yeah, I love this dress. It'll always have a special place in my heart. So the next make on my journey was the Tilly and the Buttons Orla blouse. So I'll show you the pattern there. Most of you are probably familiar with Tilly and the Buttons and these patterns, and I wanted to try one of Tilly's patterns because I'd heard that they were really good for beginner sewists, and I wasn't disappointed at all. I have to say the instruction booklet was absolutely amazing. I did it completely unsupervised, made the whole thing without any help from Angela, apart from the zip, which I did actually ask for some help on that, just because it was, you know, quite a challenging technique for a beginner sewist. But there's pictures all the way through the instructions, and there's a sew along for a lot of Tilly's patterns as well on her website, so it was a brilliant thing to try for a beginner. But again, it was sort of an intermediate pattern, so there was darts on the top, front and back, and up at the shoulders as well. And then the snowdrop collar obviously is quite challenging to make as well. And setting in the sleeves, because they're quite full, was quite challenging. So it wasn't, you know, a really easy beginner pattern. But again, it was great to just learn all of those new techniques and stretch myself. And I should mention as well that I made it in our prestige medium weight crepe, the same as the red dress. And I will put a link at the bottom to all of these makes, all of the blog posts, so you can source the patterns and the fabrics if you're interested. But yeah, I love this blouse. I put a little bit of black bias binding. I hand sewed that on the bottom, just to give it a bit of a different finish, I suppose, to the facing that's suggested. But yeah, it's a great blouse and I really love it. The next thing that I made was the Ray skirt by Saraholic patterns. So Saraholic, another fantastic brand in terms of their instructions, were really easy to follow. And this pattern in particular is an excellent beginner sewing pattern. Really easy to put together. The instructions are really clear, and it's very straightforward. So I'll just show you the skirt. I usually wear it with this gold belt, but it is just an elasticated waistband. And it sort of comes to just above the knee. I know you can't probably see that in the video, but it's quite a full skirt, and I made it in our Tilda, pardon my garden, patchwork cotton fabric. I wore this skirt a lot during the summer. It was great just for casual sort of everyday wear, and it is a really good pattern, but I think if I made it again, I'd probably make it in a more sort of drapey fabric, like one of our lovely crepes or viscose or polyester or rayon fabrics. I just think they'd probably work a bit better than the cotton that I chose, but that's just part of the learning process. And yeah, it's a really nice skirt, and I did wear it loads over the summer. The next thing that I decided to make was this New Look 6735 sewing pattern. I just wanted to make a simple jersey top. I thought it was time to try sewing with jersey, because I'd heard that, you know, that was quite challenging. So I chose our gorgeous jersey fabric in the blue narrow stripe. We've still got lots of this, and in various different colours. And I have to say, I've worn this top a lot, and the fabric is absolutely brilliant. It's such good quality. It's so much better than a lot of the tops I've got from high street stores, ready to wear tops. You know, you wash those and they go out of shape, but this stuff is really lovely quality. And I have worn this top a lot. It's a great just everyday top. It's got a nice seam down the back, which I like for a nice bit of detail. But the one thing that really bugs me every time I wear this top is the neckband. It's pretty awful, really. It's baggy. It was my first time sewing with jersey, and I was sewing on my sewing machine. I used a walking foot, which made it really easy, and it came together really well, but I just wasn't aware of how you needed to stretch a neckband to attach it on a jersey top. And I've recently written a blog post about some jersey tops that I've made in recent months, and I've put a little video on there of how you can test the length of the neckband to make sure it's right for the top and avoid getting this baggy finish, because it does really annoy me every time I wear it. I should cut it off and do another one really, but there's always too many other new exciting sewing projects on the go to do things like that. So there's my jersey top. The next thing that I made was another skirt, which was this New Look 6106 sewing pattern. I made the short version, and I made it in our John Caldor Ditzy fabric, which is a really pretty summer fabric. It's a cotton fabric. I love this skirt. I think the pockets are great. They sit nice and flat, but you can get your hands in them as well. The skirt has got a waistband on it, so that was another technique that I learnt whilst making this. And it has also got an invisible zip as well, so that was good for sort of stretching my beginner sewing skills and teaching me some new techniques. I wore this skirt a lot during the summer. It's a great just casual everyday skirt, and I think the Ditzy fabric would look really pretty as a summer dress with maybe some tie straps or a little pretty summer top. But yeah, this was another good make. I enjoyed it and I wore it, so that's always a good thing. So I was starting to really get into my stride by this point, and I decided to make this New Look 6095 pattern. It's a really easy beginner sewing pattern again, and I just wanted a nice casual dress to wear during the day in the summer. So I made it in our plain chambray fabric, but I thought because it's quite a simple dress it probably needed a bit of detail, something to make it more interesting. So I machine embroidered this paisley design onto the neckline, which I absolutely love. The embroidery on denim trend was massive last year, and I think it still is now as well, to be honest. So I was lucky enough to get my hands on Angela's Husqvarna Epic machine, embroidery machine, and she showed me how to position the design so that I got it in the right place. We made some notes about that in the blog post, so as I've said before, all the blog posts, there'll be a link underneath, so if you want to have a look at any of them. But yeah, we've also written a post recently specifically on machine embroidery if you're interested in how to get into that. But I really love this dress. I think the embroidery just gives it that nice bit of detail, but it's just a nice simple dress. It's perfect for everyday wear. There's an invisible zip down the back, a couple of darts, and really just chuck it on with a pair of sandals and go. You know, it's ideal for everyday life, so I'd definitely be up for making more of that pattern again. Brilliant pattern. So on to my next make. I made Butterick 5948, which is this pattern here. Fantastic pattern, loads of different variations available, sleeveless options, different hem lengths, designs with pockets and without pockets. It's a really, really great pattern. But I have to say, I really don't like this top, and it's down to the fabric choice. I just feel like I'm going to be going into surgery. I feel like I'm wearing scrubs when I'm wearing this. And the fabric is great and I really like it. I actually sourced this fabric for us, but it was just the wrong choice of fabric for this top again. I think that top would look brilliant in some of our prestige crepe, maybe one of the sleeveless versions for a night out. But yeah, the cotton poplin, it just isn't, it's just not the right fabric for this top. So that was a bit of a dud for me, but you know, it's all part of the learning process, so that's okay. The next thing that I made was this McCall 6744 pattern, and I made this version, which is the maxi dress with a racer back. I chose our stripy jersey fabric, so it's the same fabric as the blue and white stripes, but it's a thicker stripe. We do the narrow stripe in the red as well, so it's really lovely quality, and I just absolutely love this dress. I love the racer back detail, just think it makes it really interesting. It's lovely and casual for everyday wear, really, really comfortable. I wore it to go on holiday. It was perfect for travelling on planes, you know, it kept my legs warm on the plane, but then was cool enough when we got off and it was hot. Wore it to the sewing weekend, I wore it for school runs, I wore it everywhere, I wore it loads this summer. I made it, it was 4 pattern pieces, but Angela actually told me you could even make it easier and reduce it to 2 pattern pieces by joining the front bodice and skirt and the back bodice and skirt, which I'd do next time, and it was just a few hours to whip this up. So I've got a lot of love for this pattern. I think it's great, and I think I'll be making more of these this summer. So we were well into the height of summer, and this fabric arrived, which is our John Caldor. It's a stretch fabric, and as soon as I saw it I knew I had to make something with it. I'm absolutely obsessed with leopard print and animal prints, I just love them. And this one is like lime green with navy, which is just really unusual. So it was sat next to my desk at work and I just knew I had to make something with it. So I chose the Saraholic Salt Spring pattern, which I think is a great summer dress. I made the short version, and it was a really easy pattern to make. Again, came together really easily. I omitted the zip at the back and just did it as 2 pattern pieces on the top bodice. Just because I didn't think the zip was necessary because it was a stretchy fabric anyway. But again, wore this all summer long. It's just so nice. I love the little spaghetti straps on the top. Nice little bit of detail there. It's comfortable. It's got the elasticated waist again, so that was nice and easy to fit. It can be dressed up with high heels or dressed down with flat sandals, and again wore it all summer long. It was a great make, perfect fabric choice, and I really, really love this dress. Definitely make more Salt Springs again. So the next pattern that I made, this was one, it was a pattern that I'd spotted way back when I first sort of got involved in the business, and it's the Simplicity 1114 jumpsuit pattern. I just really, really like the look of the pattern. I thought the styling on the packet was really good as well, which always helps. I just thought it'd be a really nice project to do. So I made it in our Hermione John Caldor fabric, which I have to say is just absolutely stunning. I love it. It was another one of those, as soon as it came into the warehouse, I knew that I had to make something with it, and I think this jumpsuit was the perfect make, really. I love the detail at the back where it crosses over, and this little keyhole at the front's lovely as well. Again, it was easy to fit. It's an elasticated waist. It's another one of those outfits that you can dress up or dress down. So I've worn it with high heels to go out for dinner, but then I've worn it with flat sandals. I wore it to Sobrum actually with a denim jacket and flat sandals. Again, I wore it all summer long. Brilliant pattern, brilliant fabric, just love it. Need more of these in my life, definitely. So by this time, sadly, the summer was well and truly over, so it was time to start thinking about some more cosy makes, and I decided to make the Monetta dress by Collect Patterns. There's actually a Monetta party taking place on Instagram fairly soon, so if you follow hashtag Monetta party, it's being run by the lovely So Positivity Elle, Rachel from Rach Against the Sewing Machine, and Abigail from So Abigail. So that should be a lot of fun. There's competitions and prizes to be won, so watch out for that. But in terms of my Monetta, absolutely love it. Again, I've worn this loads and loads. It's got a gathered skirt and a nice fitted bodice. Really easy to make. I added my own neckband because I just wanted to finish it with a neckband rather than just twin needling it. But I made it in our Isabella wool jersey, and it's just the most delightful fabric for winter. It really is. I've made a turtleneck out of this fabric as well, in the charcoal black colour, but it's just super soft, really warm because it is a wool jersey. And yeah, this is just a brilliant dress. Again, can be dressed up or dressed down. I've worn it out in the evening for meals, but I've worn it to work. I've worn it just to take the kids to school. I've just worn it. It's a brilliant pattern, and I'd definitely make more Monettas. So my final make of the year was the Moss Skirt by Grainline Studios. This was the first Grainline pattern that I'd made, and I have to say the instructions were fantastic. It was really easy to follow. It's a really good pattern. I made it in our stretch denim fabric, so you can see the skirt here. Unfortunately, this project was a bit of a nightmare. It was just one of those, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. I found it really stressful, and it was nothing to do with the pattern. It was just me. It was just one of those, and I think I was quite lucky really to get through nearly a whole year of beginner sewing without hitting one of these projects. And I wrote a little blog post about how I bounced back from it, because you know it can knock your confidence and make you question your sewing ability when you have a project like that. But I got through it. I finished the skirt. I'm really pleased with the fit of the skirt. I made a sway back adjustment, and that worked out really well. There's some nice detail, like I did flat felled seams across the yokes at the back. I did a flat felled seam at the front. And yeah, you know, it's the waistband's pretty awful, if I'm honest. It's really uneven. I'm not happy with that at all. I ended up bodging that really at the end, but that is the nature of sewing. Sometimes things don't always go right, and I got through it and I finished it and I wear it, so that's the main thing. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at my first year as a beginner dressmaker or sewist. I've really enjoyed it. It's been great looking back at all those things that I made. But what's really important to me is that I now use what I've learnt to inform what I make this year, so I can keep making a more and more meaningful handmade wardrobe. So if I think about the items that are my favourites, what do they have in common? Well, they all fit in with my lifestyle. So, you know, I don't have a particularly glamorous lifestyle, unfortunately. So I do need a lot of casual outfits that I can wear day to day. And but that doesn't necessarily mean jeans or trousers. That's a big thing that I've learned and that I've been able to overcome through dressmaking. I'd fallen into the trap as a mum of just constantly reaching for a pair of jeans and a top, and I didn't ever really wear skirts or dresses during the day. So overcoming that, identifying that gap in my wardrobe and making lots of things to fill that gap has been really good, and I really love wearing those items of clothing. They are also things that I have never worn before as well. They're new styles and new garments that I've tried. So the jumpsuit, I haven't had a jumpsuit since the 80s, when I was probably like about 7 or something. I don't know why, because I made that jumpsuit and I absolutely love it, and I got a lot of pleasure out of trying something new. So that's another factor to consider, to just push my boundaries, challenge myself, try different styles and new things. And then also what's been really important, I think, is mixing up challenging projects with easy projects. I think if I did challenging make after challenging make, I'd get really fed up and bored. It would just all feel too hard. Whereas if I mix it up and I do some nice quick easy makes and then some challenging makes in between, that works really well for me because I enjoy the learning and the challenge. But then also, you know, I get some quick satisfaction and reward from the quicker projects as well. So bearing all of that in mind, I'm going to create myself a Make 9 list. So Make 9 is something that's happening on Instagram, where people identify 9 things that they would like to make for the coming year, and I'm going to be doing that and sharing that with you in my next vlog based on what I've learnt from this year. So thank you again to everybody for tuning in. Remember, all of the things that I've made, I've put links to my make blog post below so you can see the full details, source the patterns and the fabrics there. There's also a link to our lovely web shop where you can get all your favourite sewing goodies, so if you want to have a look around, feel free to go on and have a look. And if you like what you see and you want to stay in tune with our news and views, just like and subscribe. We'd love to stay in touch with you, share your comments and thoughts, and I shall see you next time. Thank you.